My fiance secretly remortgaged our house for her ex's startup. The startup was a gambling ring. The house was only in my name. Both lost their bets. All right, Reddit, strap in because this one's a wild ride. I, 32 male, been grinding in tech for about 8 years now. Make decent money, not Silicon Valley rich or anything, but comfortable enough that I bought my own house 3 years ago. 3-bedroom place in a solid neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Or at least it was supposed to be. Met my fiance, let's call her Rachel, 29 female, about 4 years ago through mutual friends. She worked in marketing for some startup that folded after like 6 months, then bounced around between a few gigs. When we met, she was doing social media management for a local business. The pay was decent, but nothing crazy. She was fun though, energetic, always had these big ideas about starting her own business someday. I liked that ambition. Thought it was sexy, honestly. Our first date was at this Italian place downtown. She showed up 20 minutes late, but with this huge smile and a story about getting lost because her GPS sent her to the wrong side of town. We ended up closing down the restaurant, talking for hours about everything. Her dreams of starting a marketing agency, my plans to eventually work remote and travel, our shared obsession with true crime podcasts. The chemistry was instant. By the end of the night, I knew I wanted to see her again. We moved in together about 2 years into dating. She'd been renting this overpriced apartment downtown, and her lease was up, so I offered to let her move into my place. Seemed like the logical next step. She was thrilled. Started talking about how we were building our future together. All that good stuff. I was into it. Felt like a real adult, you know? Girlfriend moving into the house I owned, talking about marriage and kids and the whole domestic dream. Here's the thing though, and this is important. The house stayed in my name only. My mortgage, my deed, my equity. Rachel contributed to groceries and utilities, maybe like $800 a month total, which honestly didn't even cover half of what she was using. But I didn't care. I made more than her, and I figured we were partners. What's mine is yours and all that romantic bullshit I believed back then. The first year living together was actually pretty solid. We had our routines down. I'd work from my home office while she went into the marketing agency. We'd cook dinner together most nights, nothing fancy, just normal couple stuff. Taco Tuesdays became our thing. She'd make the salsa from scratch. I'd handle the meat and tortillas. We'd watch cooking shows and laugh at how seriously people took their fucking vegetables. Weekends were our time. Saturday morning farmers market runs where Rachel would buy expensive artisan bread we didn't need. Sunday morning sleeping in, making elaborate breakfasts, then wasting the afternoon watching movies. Her friends would come over sometimes, and I'd grill. My buddies would show up for football games, and she'd make her famous 7-layer dip that everyone went crazy for. Life was good, normal, stable. We took a trip to Colorado that first year living together. Rented this cabin in the mountains. Spent a week hiking, drinking wine by the fireplace, talking about our future. She brought up kids for the first time there. Said she wanted 3, maybe 4 if we could afford it. I remember thinking this woman wants to build a family with me, in my house, and feeling this overwhelming sense of pride and accomplishment. Like I'd finally made it, you know? Looking back, there were red flags I completely missed because I'm apparently an idiot. About 6 months after Rachel moved in, her ex-boyfriend Derek started creeping back into the picture. Now, I'm not the jealous type. I've never been that guy who freaks out about their girl having male friends or whatever. But Derek was different. This dude was a walking red flag factory. Rachel and Derek had dated for like 3 years before me. According to her, he was unstable, and they broke up because he couldn't hold down a job and kept getting involved in sketchy business ventures. She painted him as this cautionary tale about why she was so grateful to be with someone stable like me. Yeah, I ate that shit right up. Made me feel like I was the mature upgrade, you know? Derek worked is generous. He bounced between jobs like he was allergic to steady employment. 1 month he was selling insurance, the next he was doing Uber. Then he'd pop up with some new investment opportunity that always seemed to involve other people's money. Rachel used to roll her eyes when she talked about him, make jokes about dodging a bullet. "Can you imagine if I'd married that disaster?" she'd say, curling up next to me on the couch. "I'd be broken miserable." The irony of that statement hits different now. But Derek started texting her for closure. Then he needed to pick up some stuff he'd left at her old apartment years ago. Then they were meeting for coffee to clear the air. Every time, Rachel would frame it like she was doing me a favor by maintaining boundaries with him. "I'm being an adult about this," she'd say. "I'm showing him we can be mature and move on." I voiced concerns once or twice, but she'd flip it on me. "Don't you trust me? You're being insecure. He's literally nothing to me anymore." Classic gaslighting, but I didn't see it then. I just felt like an asshole for questioning her. Marcus, my best friend, called it out early. We were grabbing beers one night after work, and I mentioned Derek had been texting Rachel about some crisis or another. Marcus just looked at me over his beer and said, "Bro, that's weird. Why is her ex still in the picture?" "She's just being nice," I said, defensive, helping him through some stuff. "Yeah? What's he helping her through? Because this seems pretty one-sided." I brushed him off, told him he didn't understand, that Rachel and Derek had a complicated history. Marcus just shrugged and said, "All right, man, your funeral. Wish I'd listened to him then. Would have saved me a lot of trouble." The Derek situation ramped up about 8 months ago. Suddenly he was calling her at weird hours. She'd step outside to take the calls, saying it was too chaotic inside or she didn't want to bring that energy into our home. Real thoughtful of her, right? Then came the emergency meetings. Derek's mom was sick. Derek was having a mental health crisis. Derek's car broke down. Always something where Rachel just had to go help him out. "He doesn't have anyone else," she'd say, looking at me with those big, earnest eyes. "I can't just abandon him when he's struggling." Meanwhile, I'm sitting at home like a chump, ordering takeout by myself, wondering when my fiancé became Derek's free therapist/ATM. Because yeah, she started lending him money too. $20 here, 50 there. Nothing crazy at first, but it added up. When I asked about it, she'd get defensive. "It's my money, isn't it? I work too, you know." Technically true, but frustrating as hell when she's living in my house paying minimal expenses and sending her cash to her deadbeat ex. One time I checked our shared expenses account. We had this thing where we'd both throw money in for household stuff, and noticed she'd been pulling cash out. Like $200, $300 at a time. When I asked about it, she said she was buying gifts for coworkers' birthdays and didn't want to use her card because she didn't want them seeing the charges and feeling awkward. Made sense at the time. Now I know it was all going to Derek. There was this one night, must have been around February, when I came home early from work. Had a headache, decided to bail on a meeting, and just work from home the rest of the day. Walked in and heard Rachel on the phone in our bedroom. The door was cracked, and I could hear her talking in this low, urgent voice. I know. Just give me a little more time. He's asking questions, but I can handle it." No, he doesn't suspect anything. "Derek, I said I've got it under control." I stood there in the hallway, frozen, listening to my fiancé talk about me like I was some obstacle to work around. When she came out of the bedroom, she jumped about a foot in the air. "Jesus, you scared me. What are you doing home?" "Headache," I said, watching her face. "Who were you talking to?" "Oh, just Sarah from work. She's having drama with her boyfriend." "Sarah, not Derek. Interesting. Sounded pretty intense," I said. "Yeah, well, you know Sarah. Everything's a crisis." She kissed me on the cheek and went to the kitchen, and I just stood there knowing she'd lied straight to my face and wondering what the hell was going on. The proposal happened last year during a trip to the coast. I'd been planning it for months, got her the ring she'd been not so subtly hinting about. When I got down on one knee on the beach at sunset, yeah, I went full cliché. She cried and said yes, and everything seemed perfect. We started planning the wedding, set a date for next spring. Her parents were thrilled. My parents were thrilled. I was thrilled. Except Rachel's behavior got weirder after the engagement. She became obsessed with money. Specifically, our money. She wanted to know my exact salary, my savings, my 401k balance, what the house was worth. Said she needed to know for wedding planning purposes, and because married couples shouldn't have secrets. I'm all for financial transparency, don't get me wrong, but something about the way she was pushing felt off. She'd bring it up during dinner, during sex, randomly on weekends. "So how much equity do we have in the house now? What's your current net worth? If we sold the house tomorrow, what would we walk away with?" She started leaving financial magazines around the house, bookmarked to articles about home equity loans and lines of credit. Would mention casually how her friend's husband had taken out a HELOC to start a business, and now they were millionaires. I thought she was just daydreaming about entrepreneurship, maybe wanting to start that business she always talked about. One night, she even suggested we should take out a home equity loan ourselves. "Think about it," she said, eyes bright with excitement. "We could use it to invest in something, real estate or stocks, or maybe even start a business. The house is just sitting there with all that equity doing nothing." "The house is our home," I said, "not an investment vehicle." She got this weird look on her face, like I just told her we couldn't afford food or something. "But don't you want to build wealth? Don't you want more than just this?" This, meaning our perfectly good life in our perfectly good house. "Yeah, Rachel, I was pretty happy with this. Red flags everywhere, but I was blind. Thought she was just excited about our future. Maybe getting a little too into the financial planning side of marriage. Looking back, I want to slap past me for being so goddamn naive. About 4 months ago, Rachel started pushing for me to add her to the house deed. "We're getting married anyway," she'd say. "What's the difference? Don't you see us as equal partners?" I'd dodge the question, say we deal with it after the wedding. But she wouldn't let it go. Brought it up constantly. Got emotional about it. Accused me of not trusting her, not seeing her as a real partner. Said it hurt her feelings that I was so protective of the house when she'd been living there and contributing for over a year. The contributing part made me laugh, but I kept my mouth shut. $800 a month doesn't exactly equal half a mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. But sure, Rachel, you're basically co-owner here. I stood firm though, and that seemed to piss her off. She started spending more time out with friends and less time at home. The Derek meetings increased too. Now he was starting a business and needed her advice. What kind of advice? I have no idea, since Rachel had zero business experience, and Derek's idea of entrepreneurship was probably selling weed out of his mom's basement. My sister Rachel noticed something was off when we all went to dinner one night. It was this family thing, my parents' anniversary, and Rachel spent the whole meal on her phone, just typing away, barely touching her food, giving one-word answers when anyone asked her something. After Rachel excused herself to the bathroom, Rachel leaned over and whispered, "Is she okay? She seems really distracted." "Work stuff," I lied, because what else was I going to say? My fiance's obsessed with her ex and I'm pretending it's normal? Rachel gave me this look that said she wasn't buying it. Work stuff, right, because marketing emergencies happen during family dinners. When Rachel came back, she announced she had to leave early. Some client crisis. She kissed me on the cheek and left, and I sat there finishing dessert while my family exchanged worried glances. My dad actually asked if everything was okay with the wedding. I said it was fine. I was lying. My mom pulled me aside when I was leaving. "Honey, is Rachel treating you right? You seem stressed lately." "I'm fine, Mom. Just work stuff." She gave me that mom look, the one that says she knows you're full of shit, but she's going to let you figure it out on your own. "Okay, but if you need to talk, you know where I am." I hugged her and left, and drove home thinking about how everyone could see there was a problem except me. Or maybe I could see it too. I just didn't want to admit it. Then came the day that changed everything. I work from home most days, and I'd gotten into this routine of checking the mail during my lunch break. Usually it's just junk and bills, nothing interesting. But on this particular Tuesday, there's this weird envelope from a mortgage company I don't recognize. I open it up and my stomach drops. It's a statement for a second mortgage on my house. My house. The one I bought, the one that's only in my name. Except apparently it's not only in my name anymore, because there's a $150,000 home equity line of credit listed right there in black and white. My hands were shaking as I read through it. The account had been opened 6 months ago. 6 months. And according to the statement, the entire credit line had been drawn down. Every single penny. Gone. I stood there in my kitchen, staring at this piece of paper, trying to make it make sense. 6 months ago was March. I'd been at a tech conference in Austin for 3 days. The house had been empty, except for Rachel, and someone had taken out a $150,000 loan in my name. The conference. I remember that trip clearly now. Rachel had been super encouraging about me going, kept saying it would be great for my career, that she'd hold down the fort at home, even drove me to the airport, kissed me goodbye, told me to have fun and not worry about anything. Meanwhile, she was probably already planning how to forge my signature on loan documents. I called the mortgage company immediately, trying to keep my voice calm even though I was internally losing my shit. The customer service rep confirmed the account, confirmed the draw. When I asked how this was possible without my knowledge, she got quiet. "Sir, according to our records, you applied for this line of credit in March. We have your signature on all the documents." "That's impossible," I said. "I never applied for anything." Another pause. "Sir, I'm looking at the application now. It's notarized and everything. Perhaps you forgot? I don't forget taking out $150,000 loans on my house, lady. That's not something that just slips your mind. I asked her to email me copies of everything. The application, the signatures, the notarization documents." She hesitated, said she'd need to verify my identity first. After 20 minutes of security questions and jumping through hoops, she finally sent the files. I opened them on my laptop, and there it was. My signature, or what looked like my signature, on an application I'd never seen before, dated from March when I'd been at a tech conference in Austin for 3 days. The handwriting was close. I'll give whoever did it that much. But it wasn't mine. Little things were off. The way the J in my first name curved, the loop in my last name's G. Someone had forged my signature, and I had a pretty fucking good idea who. The notary stamp looked legit, which meant this was more than just a casual forgery. This was planned. This was sophisticated. This was fraud on a level I didn't think my lazy fiance was capable of pulling off. I started digging through our home office, looking for any paperwork Rachel might have stashed. Found bank statements she'd hidden in a shoebox in her closet. Rookie move, honestly. There were transfers from the HELOC to her personal checking account, all $150,000 deposited in chunks over the past 6 months. Then transferred out almost immediately to an LLC I didn't recognize, Summit Ventures Capital Group. Fancy name, I Googled it. Nothing came up. No website, no LinkedIn profiles, no business registration in our state. Searched the LLC database. Registered 4 months ago. The managing member? Derek fucking Henderson, Rachel's ex. My calm, collected fiance had secretly taken out a massive loan against my house. Through fraud, I might add. And funneled every penny to her ex-boyfriend's company that didn't exist until recently and had zero online presence. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I sat there at my desk, staring at my computer screen, trying to process what I was seeing. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just her helping out an ex. This was calculated, premeditated fraud. She'd forged my signature, found a crooked notary, set up the whole thing while I was out of town, and systematically drained the money over months. And I'd been sitting here like an idiot, planning a wedding, wondering why she was stressed, making her breakfast, thinking we were building a life together. The worst part was how stupid I felt. All those times I'd brushed off Marcus's concerns. All those red flags I'd ignored. The way she'd been pushing to get on the deed. The sudden interest in the house's value. The constant meetings with Derek. It all made sense now. And I felt like the world's biggest moron for not seeing it sooner. I pulled up my bank app and started going through months of transactions. Found charges I didn't recognize. Fancy dinners I'd never been to. Hotels in the city when she said she was visiting friends. Cash withdrawals from ATMs across town. She'd been using our joint credit card for her affair and her fraud, and I'd been too busy working and trusting her to notice. There was a $400 charge at some jewelry store. Clicked on it. Men's watch. Guess Derek needed a nice watch for all those business meetings running his illegal gambling operation with my stolen money. I didn't confront her immediately. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy who collects evidence first, builds his case, and then strikes when he's got everything lined up. So I took screenshots of everything, downloaded every document, made copies, backed it all up to 3 different cloud services because I've seen enough true crime shows to know evidence has a way of disappearing. Then I called my best friend Marcus. Marcus works in fraud investigation for a bank, so he knows this shit inside and out. Sent him everything over encrypted email and asked for his professional opinion. He called me back within an hour. Bro, he said, and I could hear the disbelief in his voice. This is textbook mortgage fraud, like the definition of it. Your girl could go to prison for this. What do? I asked. First, call the police. Second, call a lawyer. Third, get every document you can find and lock it down. Do not tell her you know. Do not give her any warning. She'll destroy evidence or disappear. How do I prove it wasn't me? That was my biggest fear. That somehow they'd think I was in on it. That I'd approved this. You were in Austin when the application was submitted, right? You've got plane tickets, hotel receipts, conference badge scans. You weren't even in the state when this happened. Plus, the signature analysis will show it's not yours. They've got forensics for this stuff now. You're good, man. She's not. I thanked him and hung up. Then, I called a lawyer Marcus had recommended, guy named Richard, who specializes in fraud cases. Set up an emergency meeting for the next day. Richard told me the same thing Marcus did. Document everything. Don't tip her off, and prepare for this to get ugly. That night, Rachel came home around 8. I was in the living room pretending to watch TV, but really I was watching her, looking for signs I'd missed, trying to figure out how I'd been so blind. Hey babe, she said, kissing me on the cheek. Sorry I'm late. Got stuck in a meeting. Stuck in a meeting. Right. No worries, I said, keeping my voice normal. How was your day? She launched into this story about her boss being difficult and some client being demanding, and I just nodded along, thinking about how easily she lied, how natural it seemed to her. This woman was planning to marry me, was living in my house, sleeping in my bed, and she'd been defrauding me for 6 months without blinking. She made herself dinner. I'd already eaten, claimed I'd grabbed something with Marcus, and we sat on the couch watching some reality show she liked. She kept looking at her phone, texting someone, probably Derek, updating him on whether I suspected anything. Spoiler alert, I definitely did. At one point her phone buzzed and she smiled at whatever message she got. Smiled. While sitting next to the man whose house she'd just stolen $150,000 from to give to her ex-boyfriend. The audacity was almost impressive. The next morning, I met with Richard at his office. Showed him everything I'd found. He looked it over, taking notes, asking questions about the timeline, about Rachel's access to my documents, about Derek. "This is prosecutable," he said finally, "both criminally and civilly. The question is what you want to do about it." "I want my money back," I said, "and I want her gone." Richard nodded. "Okay, here's how this plays out. We file a police report first. They'll investigate, probably arrest her. Then we freeze any accounts she has, freeze the LLC, and try to recover the funds. But I'm going to be honest with you. If the money's already spent, which it likely is, you're not getting it back anytime soon. You'll have to go after them in civil court, which takes time and money. How much time? Could be years. Could be never if they don't have assets." He leaned back in his chair. "The house is still yours, though. The mortgage company might try to hold you liable for the HELOC since it's technically secured against your property, but we'll fight that. We've got fraud, forgery, identity theft. No judge is going to make you pay for a loan you didn't take out." "What about the wedding?" I asked. "We're supposed to get married in 6 months. Richard gave me this look. "Son, I don't think there's going to be a wedding." "Yeah, no shit." I filed the police report that afternoon, brought in all my evidence, walked them through the timeline. The detective assigned to the case, this older guy named Morrison, looked simultaneously impressed and disgusted. "This is one of the more brazen ones I've seen," he said, flipping through the documents. "Usually people try to hide it better, but she just went for it." "Can you arrest her?" I asked. "We'll need to verify some things first, but yeah. This is clear-cut mortgage fraud, identity theft, forgery. She's looking at serious charges here. Her and the boyfriend both. How long until you arrest her?" Morrison shrugged. "Couple days, maybe. We need to get the notary's testimony. Verify they didn't actually witness you signing anything. But it's coming." "The notary," I said. "How do you find a notary willing to forge documents?" Morrison leaned back. "Oh, you'd be surprised. Most aren't willing, but there's always someone desperate for cash. We'll track them down. They'll be charged too." Turns out the notary was some guy Derek knew from community college who'd gotten his notary license to make extra money on the side. Derek paid him $5,000 to notarize documents without me present. The guy sang like a canary when the police showed up, trying to cut a deal by giving up Derek and Rachel. I went home that day knowing I had 48 hours max before everything exploded. Rachel was already there, cooking dinner, acting like we were some normal happy couple. I walked right past her into the bedroom and started packing a bag. She followed me. "What are you doing?" "Going to stay at Marcus's for a few days," I said, not looking at her. "Need some space?" "Space? Why? What's wrong?" I wanted to scream at her, wanted to lay it all out right there, but I kept my cool. "Just need to clear my head. Wedding planning is stressing me out." She bought it, actually looked concerned. "Babe, we can push the wedding back if you need." "I'll be fine," I cut her off. "Just need a few days." I left that night and went to Marcus's place. Spent 2 days waiting, checking my phone constantly, wondering when the cops would make their move. Marcus kept me distracted with video games and beer, but I could barely focus. His wife, Jennifer, made me elaborate dinners and kept asking if I was eating okay. They were good people, treating me like family when my actual family didn't even know what was happening yet. On day 3, I got the call from Detective Morrison. We picked her up this morning, boyfriend too, both in custody. I felt this weird mix of relief and sadness. Relief that this nightmare was officially starting to end. Sadness that this was how a 4-year relationship and an engagement came crashing down. "What happens now?" I asked. "They'll be arraigned. Bail will be set. My guess is they'll both bond out, but with restrictions. Then it's the DA's case. You'll probably be called as a witness. And my house? That's a civil matter now. Talk to your lawyer. But the mortgage company can't hold you responsible for a fraudulent loan. You'll be fine." I thanked him and hung up. Then I called Richard and told him to start the civil proceedings to get Rachel and Derek's assets frozen. Whatever they had, I wanted locked down. They'd gambled with my house, and now they were going to lose everything. The news hit our friend circle pretty fast. Rachel's parents called me, crying, begging me to drop the charges. Her dad actually said, "She made a mistake, can't you forgive her?" A mistake. Taking out a $150,000 fraudulent loan is not a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to put gas in the car. A mistake is accidentally dyeing your white shirts pink in the laundry. Committing multiple felonies over 6 months is not a mistake. It's a choice. I told them I wouldn't drop anything, that Rachel made her bed, and now she could lie in it. Her mom started yelling about how I was destroying their daughter's life. I hung up. My parents were weirdly calm about it. My dad just said, "You dodged a bullet, son. Better now than after the wedding." Mom was more sympathetic, but agreed I'd done the right thing. They both asked if I needed money for the legal fees, which I appreciated but declined. I could handle it. The arraignment happened a week later. I went, sitting in the back of the courtroom, watching Rachel and Derek stand in front of the judge in their orange jumpsuits. They both looked like hell. Good. The charges were read: identity theft, mortgage fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud. Bail was set at $50,000 each. Rachel's parents posted her bail. Derek's family apparently told him to go fuck himself because he sat in jail for another week before scraping together bail money from some sketchy friends. Richard filed the civil suit the same day, demanding return of the $150,000 plus damages, legal fees, and anything else we could throw at them. We also filed a restraining order against both of them, which the judge granted. They couldn't come within 500 feet of me or my house. That's when the real investigation into what Derek's business actually was started coming out. Summit Ventures Capital Group wasn't a startup. It wasn't a legitimate business. It was a front for an illegal gambling operation. Derek and some of his buddies were running online poker games, sports betting, all kinds of gambling. They'd taken the money from the HELOC, used it to fund the operation, and lost almost all of it within 3 months. Bad bets, poor management, people defaulting on payments. The whole thing collapsed faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. When the police raided their operation, they found records showing Rachel wasn't just a silent partner, she was actively involved. She'd been helping Derek run the books, recruit players, collect debts. My sweet fiancé, who could barely balance a checkbook, was moonlighting as a bookie. The spreadsheets they found had her handwriting all over them, tracking bets, calculating odds, marking down who owed what. Detective Morrison called me when they uncovered all this. "Your ex-fiancé's deeper in this than we thought," he said. "We're adding charges." "What kind of charges?" "Illegal gambling, operating an illegal enterprise, money laundering." She wasn't just Derek's accomplice. She was his business partner. Additional charges were filed: illegal gambling, operating an illegal enterprise, money laundering. They were both looking at serious prison time now, not just for the fraud, but for running an illegal gambling ring with my stolen money. I watched it all unfold from a distance, simultaneously horrified and satisfied. They'd bet everything on this stupid scheme, and now they were losing it all. The house was safe. The mortgage company agreed to discharge the HELOC after seeing the evidence of fraud. They'd go after Rachel and Derek's assets instead, which was basically nothing. The wedding was obviously canceled. I sent a mass email to everyone on the guest list explaining that due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding wasn't happening. Didn't give details. Most people figured it out when the news hit the local paper. Local couple charged with mortgage fraud, illegal gambling operation. My cousin forwarded me the article with just a question mark. I called her and explained everything. She was horrified. "I knew something was off about her," she said. "At your engagement party, she kept talking about money, like obsessively. I thought it was weird. Everyone had known something was off. Everyone had noticed the red flags, and I'd ignored all of them like an idiot." Rachel's friends reached out, some calling me heartless for pressing charges, others apologizing for not seeing what she was really like. I blocked most of them. Didn't need that drama in my life. One of her work friends, this girl named Ashley, called me crying. Said she felt terrible because Rachel had been borrowing money from her too. She said she needed it for wedding expenses, Ashley said. "I gave her like $2,000 over the past few months. I'm never getting that back, am I?" "Probably not," I said. "You should report it to the police though. Add it to the case." She did. Turned out Rachel had been running the same scam on multiple friends, borrowing money for wedding stuff or emergencies, and funneling it all to Derek's gambling operation. They'd collected almost $10,000 from various friends and family members. None of them reported it at first because they felt embarrassed about being scammed. The criminal trial took 6 months. Both Rachel and Derek tried to plea bargain, but the DA wasn't having it. Too many charges, too much evidence. They went to trial, lost spectacularly, and both got sentenced to 3 years in prison. They'd be eligible for parole in 18 months with good behavior, but still. 3 years for fucking up my life and my house. The trial itself was wild. I had to testify, sitting in that witness box while the prosecutor walked me through everything. How I'd discovered the loan, the forged signature, the money trail. Rachel's lawyer tried to make me look bad, asking why I'd kept the house solely in my name, suggesting I was financially controlling. Richard objected, judge sustained it, but the implication hung there. Like somehow I was the bad guy for not giving my girlfriend access to commit fraud more easily. The jury saw through it though. Took them less than 3 hours to come back with guilty verdicts on all counts. When the verdicts were read, Rachel started crying. Derek just stared straight ahead, looking dead inside. They'd both finally realized the consequences of their actions. The civil judgment came through too. Court ordered them to pay me back the full $150,000 plus $50,000 in damages and legal fees. Total judgment, $200,000. Of course, they don't have it. Rachel's making like 12 cents an hour in prison. Derek's got nothing. I'll probably never see that money, but the judgment sits there on their credit reports, ruining them for years. My life slowly got back to normal. Fixed the mess with the mortgage, refinanced to a better rate actually, and moved on. Started dating again, though I'm way more cautious now. Trust issues, you know? I still drive past the house sometimes and think about how close I came to losing it. How one person's greed and stupid decisions almost destroyed something I'd worked years to build. But they didn't. The house is still mine. They lost their bets, and I kept my home. Last I heard, Rachel and Derek broke up in prison. Shocker. Apparently he blamed her for everything. Said it was her idea to take out the loan. She blamed him for dragging her into the gambling operation. They turned on each other fast once the walls started closing in. Honor among thieves and all that. Her parents still send me guilt trip emails sometimes, saying I ruined their daughter's life. I don't respond. Their daughter ruined her own life the moment she decided defrauding me was a good idea. My sister Rachel told me that Rachel's mom cornered her at the grocery store once, crying about how I was heartless and unforgiving. Rachel apparently told her, "Your daughter committed multiple felonies against my brother. He's the victim here, not her." Haven't heard from Rachel's mom since. So yeah, Reddit. That's my story. My fiancé secretly remortgaged my house to fund her ex-boyfriend's illegal gambling operation, and they both ended up in prison while I kept my house and moved on. Sometimes karma works out exactly how it should. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.